the galaxy had always looked down on Earth. To the alien superpowers, humanity was a minor race, primitive, divided, and struggling just to survive. The first contact with the alien empires had not been a peaceful one. Earth had been attacked, conquered, and its people enslaved, their cultures and histories erased by overwhelming alien forces. But there was something the alien invaders didn't understand: humanity was resilient. Even under the cruel oppression of the conquerors, Earth's people refused to break. The scars of war had run deep, but the fire of resistance burned brighter. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. The story begins with the turning point, the rise of a small resistance cell that managed to survive in the crumbling remnants of Earth's once great cities. This group, led by a former military strategist named Commander Alex Carter, had been preparing in the shadows for years. The alien powers, the Talarak, Vridari, and Uzkar, believed they had crushed any possibility of resistance, but the humans had been plotting, using the most underestimated weapon in the galaxy, their minds. Commander Carter, a master tactician, had spent years learning about the alien powers' weaknesses. While the alien superpowers had advanced weaponry and psychic abilities, they were complacent. They underestimated humanity's ingenuity, its ability to adapt, and most importantly, its drive to survive. Carter had spent months assembling a group of highly skilled individuals, a ragtag team of scientists, engineers, former soldiers, and rogue diplomats. They had a single objective: turn the tables on the alien superpowers, and prove that humans were not to be underestimated. They had infiltrated an alien-controlled research facility on Earth, where the Talarak Empire had been conducting experiments on human genetics, trying to unlock the secrets of human resilience. The Talarak believed that by harnessing the genetic strength of humanity, they could create an army of super soldiers that would help them crush the rest of the galaxy. But instead, they had unwittingly handed humanity the key to their own survival. As the resistance cell infiltrated the facility, Carter and his team discovered something terrifying. The Talarak had been studying human DNA to engineer a biological weapon, a virus that could turn humans into mindless puppets under their control. The virus was deadly, but it had a flaw: humans' adaptability. The virus couldn't fully control them. But if the aliens could somehow fix this flaw, they could bend humanity to their will. The resistance team stole the data, but in doing so, they also learned something even more shocking: the Talarak Empire's most powerful weapon, a massive fleet that could obliterate entire planets, was on its way to Earth. They would arrive in mere days, and once the Talarak finished their experimentation, they would wipe out the remaining human resistance. But they didn't know that the humans had already made their first move. Carter, determined to fight back, made a bold decision. They would use the stolen alien technology against them. A small team was sent to an abandoned Talarak military base, where they planned to hack into the alien communication network and send a signal across the galaxy. The resistance hoped to rally other oppressed species that had been crushed under the boot of alien superpowers for centuries. Meanwhile, back at Earth's last safe haven, a fortified underground bunker, humans began working on a plan to cripple the Talarak fleet. They had no choice but to attack first, launching guerrilla strikes against alien infrastructure, sabotaging their supply chains, and spreading fear through the alien ranks. Humanity's first taste of victory came in the form of a small but crucial strike on an alien weapons depot, where they managed to steal several advanced energy weapons. The resistance, now armed with alien technology, was more dangerous than ever before. But they knew that taking down the alien superpowers would be no easy feat. It would take cunning, strength, and the unwavering determination that had defined humanity for millennia. The stolen alien weapons had given humanity a new edge, but they were still vastly outmatched. The Talarak fleet, with its massive warships and advanced technology, was nearly invincible. Yet, Commander Carter and his team knew that humanity's greatest advantage was something no alien power could replicate: the human spirit. With the data from the research facility, they now had a glimpse of the Talarak Empire's inner workings. They were learning how to counter the aliens' formidable psychic abilities, and it became clear that humanity's survival depended on a daring plan, one that required them to strike directly at the heart of the Talarak Empire itself. Carter assembled a team of the brightest minds from the human resistance. Dr. Sarah Patel, a biochemist, had analyzed the data from the Talarak experiments and discovered that there was a way to modify the virus they had engineered to work in humanity's favor. If they could introduce a genetic modification to the virus, they could make it an adaptive agent, one that would turn the Talarak's genetic experiments back against them. But there was a catch: this modification had never been tested, and there was no guarantee it would work. It could kill the team and everyone else they were trying to save. Carter didn't hesitate. He knew it was their only chance to level the playing field. The Resistance had to take the fight to the Talarak and destroy their ability to control humanity once and for all. The plan was dangerous, but it was the kind of plan humanity had always relied on in the face of impossible odds: surprise, adaptability, and above all, audacity. Carter and his team set their sights on a Talarak command station located in the heart of the occupied human territories. It was heavily guarded, but they knew they had one advantage the Talarak never saw coming: human ingenuity. They would infiltrate the station and inject the modified virus into the central command hub, disrupting the Talarak's psychic communication network and crippling their control over their forces. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the stolen data had already begun to bear fruit. The signal sent by the Resistance team reached several oppressed worlds, each one eager to rise up against their alien overlords. Soon, hundreds of alien species, all united by their desire for freedom, joined forces with humanity. They were small in number compared to the alien superpowers, but together, they formed a new alliance, an alliance that would fight for the future of the galaxy. As Carter's team made their way to the Talarak command station, they encountered unexpected resistance. The Talarak, despite their overwhelming power, had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and evolve. They had expected the humans to cower and submit, but instead, they faced an army of determined rebels who were willing to do anything to win. Carter's team fought their way through the alien defenses, using their stolen weapons and guerrilla tactics to wreak havoc on the Talarak forces. In one memorable battle, a small group of Resistance fighters managed to infiltrate a heavily fortified Talarak stronghold, sabotaging the alien weapons systems and causing a chain reaction that disabled several warships in orbit. The tide of the battle was beginning to shift, but there was still much work to be done. The Resistance needed to get to the heart of the Talarak Empire, their command center, and inject the modified virus into their psychic communication hub. This was the final piece of the puzzle that could turn the tide in humanity's favor. But the closer they got to their target, the more difficult the mission became. The Talarak had begun to realize that their control over Earth was slipping away. They responded with overwhelming force, deploying advanced war machines and psychic warriors to crush the rebellion once and for all. The Resistance, however, wasn't backing down. They were outnumbered, but they had the one thing the Talarak could never understand: they had nothing left to lose. As Carter and his team approached the Talarak command center, they knew that this mission would either save humanity or doom them all. It was a gamble, but humanity had never been afraid of a challenge. They had fought for their survival since the dawn of time, and this battle was no different. The galaxy was about to witness the true strength of humanity. The Talarak command center loomed ahead, a towering fortress of steel and psychic energy, nestled within the heart of the alien empire. Carter's team had fought tooth and nail to get this far. Every step had been a struggle, but they were finally close. The modified virus was in their possession, and with it, humanity's future hung in the balance. The Resistance's plan had always been bold, but the closer they came to their target, the more the weight of the decision pressed down on them. This mission wasn't just about freeing Earth anymore, it was about igniting a galaxy-wide rebellion. They needed to break the Talarak's control over their psychic network, and injecting the virus into their central hub would do just that. But there was a catch: the virus would not only disable the Talarak's psychic link, it would also rewrite the genetic code of any human it encountered. The risk was enormous. If anything went wrong, they could lose everything. The virus could spread uncontrolled and mutate in ways they couldn't predict. But Carter couldn't afford to back down. Not now. The Talarak had wiped out entire civilizations with their psychic might, enslaved countless species, and believed themselves to be invincible. It was time to prove them wrong. With the help of their new alien allies, Carter and his team infiltrated the command center's outer defenses. The facility was a labyrinth of alien technology, humming with the oppressive energy of the Talarak psychic presence. Each step brought them closer to the heart of the Empire, but also deeper into the enemy's grasp. The psychic energy of the command center was overwhelming, making it harder for the resistance to stay hidden. Talarak's psychic warriors, known as Mind Blades, patrolled the corridors, their senses sharp enough to detect even the faintest human presence. The team moved carefully, relying on their advanced alien technology and human ingenuity to stay one step ahead. They planted explosive charges to disable the facility's outer security systems, allowing them to breach deeper into the heart of the station. Carter led the charge, his military instincts sharp, his mind focused entirely on the mission. The team was weary, their strength tested by days of constant fighting and running, but there was no turning back now. Inside the command center, they encountered their first major obstacle, the Talarak psychic sentinels. These were no ordinary soldiers, they were trained to detect and destroy any intruder with their mind alone. As the resistance team approached the central hub, a group of sentinels emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with psychic energy. The battle that followed was unlike anything the resistance had faced before. The sentinels attacked with mind-bending force, hurling mental blasts at the humans, tearing through walls, and sending shockwaves of psychic energy through the facility. Carter's team fought back with everything they had. It was a brutal, desperate clash of wills. The humans had their alien weapons, but the psychic warriors had the ability to manipulate the battlefield itself. A mind blade targeted Carter, pushing him to the edge of his sanity, but the commander fought back with sheer willpower, drawing on the resilience that had defined humanity since the dawn of time. He shattered the psychic hold on him and used his newfound strength to take down the mind blade in a single, decisive strike. But even as they cleared the way, time was running out. The alien forces were beginning to mobilize, sending reinforcements to crush the resistance. Carter and his team could feel the pressure mounting. If they didn't reach the central hub soon, it would all be for nothing. At last, they reached the heart of the Talarak command center. The psychic network stood before them, an immense, pulsating structure of alien energy that linked the minds of every Talarak warrior across the galaxy. The modified virus, now loaded into a specially designed injector, was their only weapon. Dr. Patel, the biochemist, stepped forward, the fate of the galaxy resting in her hands. She inserted the injector into the psychic hub, and with a deep breath, activated it. The virus began to spread, slowly at first, but soon, the alien energy structure began to shudder. The psychic link that had once bound the Talarak Empire together started to break down, causing chaos across the entire station. Alien soldiers, once bound by the Talarak's will, began to lose control. Some fell to the ground, writhing in confusion, while others turned on their former commanders in a desperate attempt to escape the virus's influence. As the psychic network collapsed, the Talarak forces were thrown into disarray. The resistance had done it. They had turned the tables. But their victory was short-lived. The facility began to self-destruct, and the explosion would soon take out everything in a 100-mile radius. The resistance had no choice but to flee. But as they raced through the crumbling station, they knew one thing: they had struck a decisive blow to the Talarak Empire. The war was far from over, but the galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity had shown the universe what they were truly capable of, and it was only the beginning. As the Talarak command center collapsed behind them in a fiery explosion, the resistance team made their escape, their path marked by the devastation they had left in their wake. The modified virus was spreading faster than anyone had anticipated, and with it, chaos was erupting across the galaxy. The once invincible Talarak Empire was now unraveling, their psychic network crippled beyond repair. They were no longer a cohesive force, the mind control that had held their empire together was shattered. Alien soldiers who had once followed their commander's orders without question now found themselves free, but with no direction. But freedom came at a price. The explosion had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, alerting every alien empire of the human rebellion. The Talarak weren't the only power that had underestimated humanity. The Vridari, the UZKR, and the other galactic superpowers, all of whom had kept a wary eye on the humans for years, now saw them as a legitimate threat. Back on Earth, the human resistance was celebrating their hard-earned victory, but they knew better than to believe that the Talarak's fall would be their final victory. The galaxy was vast, and the alien superpowers, though rattled, would not go down without a fight. Earth's people, once enslaved and powerless, had become the spark of a rebellion that could change the entire balance of power. Commander Carter knew they couldn't waste time. The stolen technology, the genetic data from the Talarak research facility, and the alliances they had forged with oppressed alien species had given them the tools to strike back, but they needed to keep moving, or they would be crushed under the weight of the remaining alien forces. The alliance of liberated species, now united under humanity's banner, was growing stronger by the day. Among them were the Kiri, a species of towering warriors whose physical strength made them natural allies in the fight against the alien superpowers. Then there were the Farron, a highly intelligent species whose mastery of technology had provided the humans with new and powerful weapons. Together, they formed the backbone of a resistance that spanned the galaxy. Carter's next move was to strike at the UZKR Empire, a militaristic power that had long viewed Earth as nothing more than a tiny, inconsequential world. The UZKR were fierce and brutal, and they controlled a vast fleet of warships. They had been watching the rebellion unfold from the sidelines, waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. That moment had arrived. Carter's team, alongside their new allies, planned to attack a crucial UZKR supply hub located on a remote moon in the far reaches of the galaxy. The UZKR, like the Talarak, had underestimated humanity's ability to adapt, and they believed the rebellion was just a temporary blip on their radar. The humans were about to prove them wrong. The mission was perilous. The UZKR's moon base was heavily guarded, and any attack would risk alerting the entire empire. But Carter knew that a quick, precise strike could cripple their supply lines and set the stage for a much larger assault. It was the perfect opportunity for the rebellion to hit back hard and prove to the galaxy that humanity had arrived as a force to be reckoned with. The Resistance's strategy was bold and unconventional. Rather than attacking head-on, they would use a combination of guerrilla tactics, misdirection, and sabotage. The Farron had already begun hacking into the UZKR's communication network, sending false intelligence that led the alien forces to believe they were under attack from an entirely different sector of space. Meanwhile, Carter's team would infiltrate the base from within, using the Talarak's technology to disable their weapon systems and open the door for their alien allies to strike. But there was a twist. The UZKR had developed a new weapon, something far more dangerous than any human or alien force had faced before, a massive energy cannon capable of destroying entire planets with a single shot. If they could activate it, the rebellion would be wiped out in an instant. Carter's team would need to disable the cannon before it could be used, no easy task, given its level of sophistication and the fact that the UZKR had placed it at the heart of their most heavily fortified base. As the resistance began their attack, chaos erupted. The UZKR, still confident in their technological superiority, had no idea what was coming. The Farron's diversion worked flawlessly, pulling the UZKR forces in the wrong direction while Carter's team infiltrated the base. They encountered heavy resistance, but the humans fought with a ferocity born of desperation. They had no choice but to succeed. Failure wasn't an option. Carter and his team reached the heart of the UZKR base, where the massive energy cannon was housed in a cavernous chamber. The weapon, powered by a rare and volatile crystal, glowed ominously. Time was running out. They had to disable it before the UZKR even realized they had been infiltrated. With moments to spare, Dr. Patel worked her magic, hacking into the weapon systems and triggering a meltdown of the power core. The weapon sputtered, then went silent, and finally, it exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking the UZKR's entire facility with it. The shockwave sent ripples across the galaxy, signaling to the rest of the superpowers that humanity was no longer a subjugated species, it was now a force capable of changing the fate of the galaxy. As the explosion lit up the distant stars, Carter and his team, battered but victorious, knew that this was just the beginning. The rebellion had unleashed a chain of events that could not be stopped. The alien empires were scrambling, their once untouchable power now crumbling in the face of a human-led uprising. Humanity had turned the tables, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The explosion from the UZKR base resonated like a shockwave through the galaxy, signaling that humanity and its allies were no longer an insignificant threat. The alien empires that had ruled for millennia now found themselves scrambling, unprepared for the sudden rise of a united rebellion. The Talarak's fall was only the beginning. Humanity had sparked a revolution that was spreading like wildfire across the stars. Back on Earth, the victory over the UZKR was celebrated as a turning point. Yet, Commander Carter knew this was no time to rest. The remaining alien superpowers, the Vridari and the UZKR's allies, were already consolidating their forces to counterattack. If humanity didn't strike again quickly, they would lose the momentum they had gained. The galaxy had awakened. Humanity's alliance with the Kiri, Farron, and other oppressed species was beginning to take form. Carter had always believed that it wasn't just about fighting for Earth, it was about fighting for freedom across the entire galaxy. The Resistance had already taken down 2 superpowers, but there was more to do. The real challenge lay ahead, breaking the stranglehold of the Vridari Empire. The Vridari were known for their intelligence and strategic brilliance. Their fleets had never been defeated in battle, and their technology was far beyond anything humanity had seen. They were masters of manipulation, and they had always viewed humans as primitive, an underdeveloped species that was barely worth their time. But they were starting to take notice now. Earth's rebellion had become a threat too large to ignore. In the aftermath of the UZKR base's destruction, Carter and his team received intelligence from their new allies about a secret weapon the Vridari had been developing, a device capable of reversing the genetic modifications introduced by the virus. If the Vridari activated it, they could undo all the progress humanity had made and neutralize their entire alliance. It was clear that the rebellion needed to strike before the Vridari could finish their weapon. A team of the best and brightest would infiltrate the Vridari capital world and destroy the device. The plan was risky, too risky, but it was the only way to ensure humanity's future. If they didn't stop the Vridari, the rebellion would be doomed, and Earth would fall back into the hands of their alien overlords. Carter, once again, took command of the mission, alongside Dr. Patel and their most trusted allies. The Kiri warriors, their strength unmatched, would be invaluable in the assault. And the Farron, with their mastery of technology, would provide the means to infiltrate the heavily guarded Vridari capital. The stage was set for the most dangerous mission yet. As they made their way toward the Vridari homeworld, the Resistance faced yet another challenge. Their stealth ships had been detected by a Vridari patrol fleet. The element of surprise was gone, but the mission had to continue. If they could evade the fleet's notice long enough to get to the capital's surface, they stood a chance. The battle to reach the surface was brutal. Vridari ships, sleek and efficient, were closing in on the Resistance's fleet, but they underestimated the resilience of humanity. The Kiri, with their unmatched combat prowess, held the front lines, while the Farron hacked into the Vridari communications systems, causing confusion and disarray. Carter's team used their own guerrilla tactics, fighting with an intensity that surprised even the Vridari. The Resistance reached the surface of the Vridari capital under the cover of darkness. It was a sprawling, technologically advanced city, its skyline dominated by massive towers that housed the central power grid. At the heart of the city was the Vridari's genetic weapon, hidden in a secret underground facility beneath the capital's government complex. The final stretch of the mission was the most perilous. The underground facility was guarded by the Vridari's elite troops, highly trained, genetically enhanced soldiers who would stop at nothing to protect the weapon. Carter's team infiltrated the facility with precision, using their advanced technology to disable the security systems and avoid detection. They had no time to waste. But once inside, they discovered something unexpected. The Vridari had developed a new defense system, one that could neutralize human genetics entirely. If they activated it, it would trigger a galaxy-wide genetic reset, erasing all of humanity's progress, turning their resistance into nothing more than a distant memory. The stakes were higher than ever. Carter and his team had to move quickly to destroy the device before it was activated. The tension was unbearable as they fought their way through the facility. Every hallway, every corner held a new challenge. The Vridari soldiers were everywhere, relentless in their pursuit. But the humans were fueled by something deeper, something the Vridari could never understand, the desire to protect their future. At the core of the facility, the weapon stood before them, a massive structure pulsing with alien energy. Dr. Patel worked tirelessly to override the system, while Carter and his team fought off wave after wave of Vridari soldiers. The clock was ticking. With only seconds to spare, Dr. Patel succeeded in disabling the weapon. The entire facility shook as explosions rang out, the Vridari weapon falling into ruins. The resistance had succeeded once again, but the war was far from over. As the team made their way out of the facility, they knew one thing for certain: humanity had no intention of surrendering. The rebellion had proven time and time again that against all odds, Earth's soldiers were capable of overcoming any challenge. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity had only just begun. The destruction of the Vridari genetic weapon had sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The rebellion had gained another crucial victory, but with each triumph, the stakes grew higher. The remaining alien superpowers, particularly the Vridari, had finally realized the magnitude of the threat humanity and its allies posed. The resistance was no longer just a small insurrection, it was a full-scale revolution, and the alien empires were scrambling to find a way to stop it. Back on Earth, the celebration was brief. Commander Carter, exhausted but resolute, knew that the war was far from over. With the destruction of the Vridari weapon, the galaxy was watching. The time had come to shift the focus of the rebellion to a much more ambitious target, the heart of the Vridari Empire itself. If humanity and its allies could break their power once and for all, they could change the fate of the galaxy forever. In the aftermath of their success, the resistance had forged even stronger alliances with other oppressed species. The Kiri, who had been essential in the battles thus far, were now joined by the Uzkr's former allies, those who had also been liberated by humanity's virus. The alliance had grown into something far more powerful than anyone had anticipated, a coalition of freedom fighters that spanned galaxies. But with the alliance growing, so too did the complexity of the mission. There were now more voices, more interests at stake, and there was still much to learn about the true nature of the Vridari leadership. Carter knew that if they were going to topple the Vridari Empire, they would have to dismantle their leadership structure and bring their highest-ranking officials to justice. Only then could humanity and their allies restore balance to the galaxy. The Vridari had a secret weapon of their own, one that wasn't a genetic or technological marvel, but something far more dangerous: their elite intelligence network. The Vridari were the galaxy's masters of espionage, and they had infiltrated every corner of the rebellion. The resistance was being watched. Every move they made was known to the Vridari. To succeed in their final mission, they would need to outsmart an empire known for its intelligence and foresight. The next phase of the mission was not just about military action, it was a game of strategy, deception, and subterfuge. Carter and his team would have to plant disinformation, mislead Vridari agents, and, most crucially, gain access to the Vridari leadership's hidden stronghold, the Citadel of Stars, a fortress that had never been breached. The Citadel, located deep within Vridari-controlled space, was rumored to be impenetrable. Its walls were reinforced with the best alien technology, and its defenses were bolstered by the most loyal Vridari soldiers. But Carter had learned that the Vridari had one weakness: their arrogance. They believed their empire was untouchable, that no force could break their stranglehold on the galaxy. They underestimated the power of the human spirit, and that would be their undoing. The plan was set in motion. Carter and his most trusted officers, including Dr. Patel, the Kiri warriors, and the Farron, began a series of covert operations to mislead the Vridari. Using false intelligence, they staged a series of decoy attacks on Vridari supply lines, forcing their forces to divert their attention away from the Citadel. Meanwhile, the Farron used their hacking abilities to infiltrate Vridari communications, feeding them false orders that led the Empire's forces into a spiral of confusion. While the Vridari were distracted, Carter's team made their move. They infiltrated a Vridari command ship, disguised as Vridari soldiers, using the stolen technology from their previous missions. The plan was audacious: get close to the Citadel, disable its defenses from the inside, and then allow the full force of the rebellion to strike. If they succeeded, it would be the death blow to the Vridari Empire. The team was ready. They boarded their stealth ships, cloaked from the Vridari's advanced detection systems, and set a course for the Citadel. As they neared the Vridari stronghold, the tension was palpable. Carter's heart pounded in his chest. The risks were enormous, but there was no turning back. The future of the galaxy rested on their success. Once inside the Citadel, the resistance team split into smaller groups. Dr. Patel and a team of Farron began hacking into the Citadel's mainframe, while Carter and the Kiri warriors took on the task of fighting their way to the central command room, where the Vridari High Council met. The plan was simple. Once they disabled the Citadel's security, they would storm the council chamber, capture the leaders, and demand the immediate surrender of the Vridari forces. However, the Vridari were more prepared than anticipated. The Citadel's walls seemed to pulse with energy, as though it was alive. As the resistance neared their goal, they encountered an unexpected challenge: an army of genetically enhanced Vridari warriors, elite soldiers who had been bred for one purpose: to protect the Empire at all costs. The battle that ensued was brutal. The Kiri warriors, fierce and strong, clashed with the Vridari in a fight that shook the very foundation of the Citadel. But the Vridari soldiers were relentless, and the resistance had to fight with everything they had. Dr. Patel's hacking skills allowed them to disable some of the Citadel's automated defenses, but the fight was far from over. Time was running out. The Vridari High Council was preparing to activate a final weapon, a massive fleet of warships capable of destroying entire planets. If they succeeded, humanity's victory would be short-lived. But as the Citadel shook under the weight of the rebellion's assault, Carter knew that they had one final chance. The fate of the galaxy would be decided in the next few moments. With a final, coordinated strike, the resistance overwhelmed the Vridari forces, capturing the council members and disabling the fleet. The Vridari Empire had fallen. The galaxy trembled in the wake of the Vridari Empire's fall. The Citadel of Stars, once a symbol of unmatched power and fear, now lay in ruins, its High Council captured and its war fleet destroyed. Commander Carter stood amidst the wreckage, staring at the flickering holographic projections of the galaxy's new reality. The victory had been hard-earned, but it was complete. The galaxy, once oppressed under the boot of the alien superpowers, had begun to change forever. Humanity had proven that a few determined individuals could stand up to the galaxy's greatest tyrants. But now came the hardest part: rebuilding. The war had been won, but the true battle was just beginning. The legacy of the rebellion, of Earth's fighters, would be measured not in the destruction of empires, but in the creation of a new order. The Vridari High Council was brought to Earth as prisoners of war. They were no longer the leaders of a vast empire, but mere pawns in the hands of the humans they had once sought to crush. Their surrender marked the beginning of a new era, one where the power structures that had held the galaxy in a vice grip were no more. The people of the galaxy, liberated by humanity's virus, now looked to Earth as the symbol of hope and strength. The question that loomed over the rebellion was not one of survival or revenge, it was one of leadership. The resistance had to transition from a loose coalition of freedom fighters to a governing force. Carter and his council convened in the aftermath, discussing the future of the galaxy. Earth had led the charge, but they would need the support of their allies to ensure a lasting peace. The galaxy was no longer divided into isolated empires, it was a united front, and humanity had to guide it. The alliance of species that had once fought alongside humanity now stood as the foundation of a new governing body, the Galactic Federation. Earth would not rule as a dictator; instead, it would help steer the galaxy toward a system of equality and cooperation. Each species, each planet, had a voice in this new government. It was a delicate balance of power, and humanity had learned the hard way that no one species, no one group, could dominate the galaxy again. As the newly formed Galactic Federation began to take shape, Carter found himself in a new role, not as a soldier, but as a leader of peace. The struggle for survival was over, but the challenge of governance had only just begun. He was no longer just fighting to survive, he was fighting to ensure that the sacrifices of those who had fought alongside him were not in vain. The Vridari, humbled and defeated, agreed to the terms of surrender laid out by the Federation. They would dismantle their war machines and assist in the rebuilding of the galaxy. But Carter knew that their submission was not out of the goodness of their hearts, it was a pragmatic decision. The Vridari had learned what humanity was capable of, and they now understood the cost of underestimating them. Humanity, too, had changed. The people of Earth had become a force unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, resilient, inventive, and united by the hardships they had endured. They had forged alliances with species they had once seen as enemies, and together, they had defeated the most powerful empires the stars had ever known. But Carter knew that the fight for peace would never truly end. There would always be those who sought power, who believed that domination was the only path to survival. The task now was to ensure that these ideas never rose again. The warships that had once served as tools of destruction were now repurposed into vessels of peace, delivering aid and supplies to the worlds left in the wake of the war. Earth's soldiers, once the underdogs, now stood at the forefront of rebuilding efforts, ensuring that no world would be left behind. The legacy of Earth's victory was not just in their military triumph, but in the hope they had instilled in others. As Carter looked out at the stars, he knew that the galaxy was still a vast and dangerous place. The Vridari were gone, but other threats would inevitably emerge. But humanity had learned an important lesson through this struggle, that the power of determination, unity, and ingenuity could overcome the most impossible odds. The galaxy had been reshaped, but the work was far from finished. Earth's rise from a small, forgotten world to the heart of a new intergalactic order had inspired millions, and the fight for freedom was not a battle won with weapons alone. It was a fight for ideals, an idea that no matter how powerful, no matter how great an empire might seem, the strength of the human spirit would always prevail. The dawn of a new era had arrived, and with it, a promise: humanity would never again be seen as weak or insignificant. They had proven themselves, not just to the alien superpowers, but to the entire galaxy. The future was uncertain, but it would be one where humanity's place in the stars was no longer in question. Earth's legacy was not just one of survival, it was one of triumph, and of the endless possibilities that came from a determined few changing the fate of the universe.